And we're back. And today we've got our good friend Mike Sterling back. Survived New York City. How was that, Mike?
That was awful, man. It was absolutely terrible.
Just out of curiosity, well, I'm pretty sure I know why, but go ahead and tell us why it was that bad. And
Oh, I mean, there was a billion people all breathing my air and touching me. They were everybody just there's everybody right up on top of me. I can't carry, my pistola. And I mean, yeah, you're basically in an area that you need a gun. You're not allowed to carry a gun or virtually any way to defend yourself. And it was just, oh yeah.
yeah, it's crazy. Even people who live in New York, gun permits are done county by county. So if there's a judge in your county that's not in favor of issuing gun permits, then nobody gets one. And even if your county's in favor, a judge does issue you a permit, it's only good for that county. You can't leave the county with it. Hey, and we have 007s joining us. I wasn't sure if he was going to make it or not.
Hey.
Perfect timing before we get started here. That's great. Jeff, we are live.
Okay.
Welcome to the show. Mike was just telling us about his trip to New York City, and he's thinking of relocating there. He liked it so much.
Yeah. Yeah, that's it.
I hear the Bronx is lovely this time of year.
Oh, dude. I
All
mean,
right.
I mean, at least it didn't smell nearly as bad as New Orleans does. So, and it a great opportunity to really flesh out a lot of new things in my urban EDC. And I will tell you that the security measures around that city are all eyewash. I walked through, I can't tell you how many sites wearing uh my Wazoo survival belt,
Yeah.
loaded with a full survival kit, a pocket knife tucked behind the belt buckle, and my pepper spray and my stun gun in deep in my pockets. Walk up, go beep. I lift up my shirt and go, it's my belt buckle. And they go, okay, come on through. You guys are great at your jobs.
That's too funny. I know Dustin from Wazoo, one of the co-founders, and I bumped into him a couple years back, and he was telling me, I don't remember the exact number now, but he's flown domestically something like 100 times, never been questions with regards to his Wazoo belt and the whole kit that's in it. And of course, there's a ceramic knife in there that's stupid sharp. The only place that he ever got jacked up in an airport was in Germany, and the guy who caught him didn't speak a lick of English. So he ended up going getting his boss and a few other people who do speak English. And instead of getting in trouble for it, they all wanted to know where they could buy one. So he pulled up his website and said, I own the company. Here it is right there. And they bought them on the site.
You go. Good for you.
Yeah. So
All
pretty
Yeah, I,
right.
interesting.
I
Hey, we
had
gotta get we gotta get to work.
you had a hard plastic knife called an executive letter opener, but it
Yeah.
was plastic. And then there was another one that would fit around your knuckle with a blade about like that. And it was called the executive ice scraper. And I've still got them somewhere, but those don't get detected on metal
Yeah.
detectors at all either.
I got a set of
No.
those as well.
Yeah.
Yeah, they're made out of the G45, the same stuff that a lot of handles for knives are made out of.
Yeah.
Philip DePino from Waft has a bunch of those that he uses, for demonstration purposes when he's doing scenario training. But anyway, Mike, before we jump into the top five this week, do you have a conflicted question for us? Because we did a terrible job of not doing that while you were gone.
I know, man. I'm working on. I'm trying to get my stuff sorted out here.
Was
But
I did a terrible job. It's not on Jeff. Jeff doesn't have any in the deck,
I don't
so
have any I don't have any conflicted cards, so
we should fix that
no, we could.
for the next time that Mike's not available.
Yes.
It
right.
it's notice how he's pretending to go through the cards while he's coming up with a question in his head right now.
Yeah, that's it. You got me. Okay. Let's see. What we may have done this before. I don't know. You put me on the spot. You know I'm not good under pressure.
Right. Says the
Okay,
bomb tech.
right. Conflicted question of the day. One of your friends tells you that he can't live in this world anymore, and he has confessed to you that he wants to commit suicide. Talks with his wife and kids who are still alive and depend on him seem to do nothing to change his mind. The children are too young and his wife too depressed to be of any help with the situation. As the leader of your group, what would you do with this member and his family?
That is a tough one.
Good one.
We'll have to
We'll
ponder
get back to that at the end of the video.
Yeah, 100%. No, it's a tough one. So let's jump into the weekly top 5. So the first story we're going to cover, and we've touched on this briefly before, is signal jamming. So we first came across this with the burglary tourism. So people coming from other countries, jamming signals, robbing people and or abducting them, and then taking the spoils back to whatever country they originated from. And I don't know if that kickstarted the process or what did, but there's been a market increase in bad guys using signal jammers to steal from people. And like I said, to even take hostages. We know of at least 2 instances where they're used as hostages. So I've got a couple articles here that I'll bring up quickly, just to kind of give people the gist of what we're seeing. Let me get this up here right now. So all of the links, per usual, are on our website. The article is already published for today, so you recognize the thumbnail from today's video. So all of the links that I'm going to cover are listed there. So this is a story that's on X. It's only a couple days old, stating how people are using, the jammers. Not too complicated, but it's interesting to see some of the mainstream media is picking this up. So this is, from Microsoft and CNET. Here's another one where a police department has started to warn their local people that this is on the rise, like it's a thing, which is interesting because it seems to have come out of nowhere. And here's another one from Minnesota where burglars are using Wi-Fi jammers to disable home security systems, but they're also blocking cell signals as well. Mike, what are your thoughts on this, and what can people do about it?
Well, first, I want it stated that Mike is going to do absolutely everything right now to make sure that he doesn't say something that's going to get him sent to jail.
Fair enough.
Because, well, Jeff, you understand.
Yeah.
Okay. So I've been dealing with electronic countermeasures since, let's see, my original training with electronic countermeasures on my end, on the EODs, was from the British. I actually was able to sit down for a couple of weeks with some British Jabberwockies, is what we called them. And so this is actually fairly simple technology. It's been out there in the system for a long time. The DEA were the ones that actually pioneered both cell phone and Wi-Fi jamming. It's very simple technology. Actually, a cell phone, these things are just dumb as hell. It's called a denial of service carrier for a cell, and all it does is tell the cell phone you don't have service, and it'll go, okay, I don't have service. So you'll have 5 bars, and it'll say no service.
Interesting.
Okay, very ridiculously simple type systems. Super, super easy. So if you have a cellular based system, it does not take squat to shut down a cellular. They are illegal to have, of course, without specific licenses from the FCC and all that. And man, let me tell you, when the bomb community here in the US started trying to get into this stuff, oh, the fist fights that came out about that. Wow. Yeah, lots of suggestions about jail time to federal agents and things. Oh, yeah, it got weird. So
listen to this one. 10 years ago, there were frequent reports of cell phones losing service on I-4 passing through the Orlando corridor. And the cell phone companies were pulling their hair out. And eventually they found a guy who was driving up and down the interstate with a jammer because he was pissed off about people talking on their phones while they were driving and texting while they were driving.
Yep.
So he went on a one-man mission to try and shut it down, but they ended up catching him, and he did go to jail.
He was the hero we needed, not the hero we wanted.
Right.
Okay. Yeah. So, So electronic countermeasures in this kind of a situation, they're not that difficult to find. You can get them outside the U.S. actually fairly simply. Jamming Wi-Fi is incredibly simple, and it's just simple 2.4 megahertz or 5.1 megahertz Wi-Fi signal, and it's usually very low power, so it's super simple to bust out. You can brute force it with next to nothing. Honestly, you can set up an old hardline phone will usually, or a hardline cordless phone is on the appropriate frequencies for that kind of
Right.
stuff. So, and you just brute force it. So, it can be done. Now, what do we do on our side? Well, of course, as good Americans, if you have the opportunity, have the ultimate backup to your home alarm system, a dog. You can't jam a dog. I mean, you can do the hush puppy on them. Jeff and I know that, right? You can do the hush puppy, which is screwed up, right? That's the ATF method. Nobody likes that. But they're a lot more difficult to get around. Now, if you're out on property, geese. That's on nuclear sites here in the U.S., man. Geese are the best. Geese and guinea fowl. You ain't getting past them. I don't care who you are, right? But if you live in an urban environment, right, just because the system isn't talking to itself, as soon as it hits its "I'm okay," it gets to its "I'm okay, you're okay" signal, and it doesn't get that return, it should be going off. So if you have the ability to turn that that system down to a much tighter time period. Yeah, because a lot of the time these systems, you get them off the shelf. They're like once a day. It's given the "I'm okay, you're okay," right? But you can adjust that on most of these systems, and I tweaked mine down to real nice and tight because I used to beat these systems on the regular. So, is it possible? Yeah, absolutely. But if you can also make your system a closed loop, just because your alarm is going off and it can't send out a signal to 911 or anything like that, go ahead, have that siren and that big flashing blue strobe light out on the front of your house. Your neighbor's going to pick up on that sort of thing. All right. Somebody's going to see it. Somebody's going to figure that out. See, there you go.
Yep.
Make some noise. Now, of course, then there's the part of, oh, you decided to come into my house. That alarm system was for your protection, not mine. If you happen to be home, all right, now it's on. And that goes back to training, because once the dogs start barking, you got to get off the porch and go out where the dogs bark.
Jeff, what are your thoughts on this? As it becomes
burglars,
more, sorry, I was just going to say it seems to be becoming more prevalent. So
yeah, it is. And you realize burglars don't like light and they don't like noise because both things draw attention. The jammers are like Mike said, fairly low tech. If you want to get even more high tech, you do a cell tower spoofer to where the alarm system goes off, and if it goes out on a cell signal, it's looking for the closest tower. Well, if you have a spoofer in the driveway and it says, "Hi, I'm the closest tower," and so it connects to that, and it goes, "Gee, that number you're calling, they're not answering." And every call that is made gets ringtones forever. So it just looks like no one on the other end is picking up, but the system will think the call is still going through. There's a number of ways you can spoof those things, but a barking dog is a good defense. But again, someone could kill your dog, someone could drug the dog.
We had a gang that was committing frequent robberies in Arlington, Texas years ago. Horrible situation. When they broke into a property that had dogs, they used aerosol cans and lighters, and they'd set the dogs on fire.
Geez.
Yeah.
You know what?
Special place in hell for people like that.
Special place. Yeah. Straight to the basement, the boiler room.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt.
But no,
related.
But yeah, and then there's the old, it used to be you worried about someone cutting your landline because that was your alarm. So they went to cellular. Now they're jamming cellulars, and actually a landline might be a better alternative depending on where the box is.
Right.
If they can't get to the the junction box, they may just assume that it's on cellular because everything is now. So you could have a backup, have a cellular, and it go out on a landline if you have a landline. Just kind of merge your delivery system.
Yeah. So recommendations on your part, Jeff. I'm here in Florida. Mike and I were talking previously. There's actually quite a few people who have the blue lights, not like the one I showed on Amazon, but
Yeah.
Some of them are silent, so they can be tripped inside with either by remote or the security pad. And then people know now in this area that if they see a blue light flashing like that, somebody's in distress. And then some of them have a 120 decibel horn that goes with them as well. The only other thing I can think of is to have something, we keep bringing them up, a satellite device like the Garmin
Yeah.
InReach Mini that has an SOS button on the side, that talks to satellites. Here's a question for you guys, because I don't know the answer. Are there any home security systems that connect through a satellite network?
I'm sure you can probably find some, but you're going to pay through the nose for that
Well,
kind of monitoring.
Unless you have, if you have Starlink, because it's going out over the internet and it's going up, not out.
Good point.
But another thing is, like, I have security cameras in my house that will send a tone to my iPad, and because my iPad connects to my router and my alarm system is directly into my router, it doesn't actually go out to the internet. So we'll get an alert on my wife's phone on her nightstand. We'll get and we know the sounds, and it's like, oh wait, that's the front courtyard. What's going on there? So you can get them, but then you've got a sensitivity issue. Is the wind blowing a tree outside going to set them off? Is a cat hopping your wall, getting in your courtyard going to set it off? That sort of thing. So you got to weigh the pros and the cons. But you can get systems that will send you a tone inside the house and wake you up if someone's on the outside.
Yeah, and you can actually get some of those are pretty economical as well.
Yeah.
They're not overly sophisticated, but the price is right.
Yeah. Another question. Are my neighbors going to get mad when I clack off all the claymores in my yard?
That's how far away they are.
So I don't know if you guys follow Demolition Ranch at all. I haven't followed him recently as much as I did in the past, but when he first started to become a thing on YouTube, he did this amazing experiment where he took a part of his property and he buried PVC pipe in it and stubbed it up about every 10 feet or so, and it was 100% filled full of tannerite. So if somebody came into his yard, of course it was a spoof, but he did set it off. If somebody came into his yard, he could shoot the PVC. And when he did it, Mike would know this being an EOD tech, but the entire earth would go like this.
Oh yeah.
So we are not advising you to put tannerite underground in your property and shoot at it when people drop it.
It's a terrible explosive, because once you leave it there for just a little while, it's going bad.
Right. But interesting concept, to say the least. Anything else if we got for our audience as far as what they can do with the prevalence of these break-ins using signal jammers?
I would just make sure your alarm system, even if it doesn't contact the alarm company, that it has some way to wake you up, either through a flashing light or a tone, a sound, or something in your house, that if someone's coming up from the outside, even if the alarm company doesn't know, you know.
Yeah, 2 is 1, 1 is none.
Yeah.
Redundancies. Alarm system, and a dog, and your geese, and a peacock. And if you've never been bit by a goose, then you don't know how bad that can be.
I have been bit by a goose.
And they're loud and annoying.
Yes, very, very much so. All right, let's move on to the next set of stories. I'm not sure what to make of this, but it seems to be getting a fair bit of coverage that our federal intelligence agencies are warning us that ISIS-K, that supposedly did the attack in Russia, now has its sights set on us. And I don't know if this entirely passes the sniff test. Mike and I had a short discussion on that previously, but this is not just something that, they threw out there and left alone. They've been promoting this now for several days, saying that we have to beware of, what happened in Moscow and ISIS case coming after us here. And this article that's up, not necessarily related to that threat, but this is a pretty interesting read, and this is a fairly liberal website, but it's an interesting read that essentially says, it's not a matter of if, it's just a matter of when. And I will add to that we were at Mar-a-Lago last Thursday for the Border 911 Gala, and the former commissioner for the NYPD spoke. There were some really, really good speakers, and he was discussing how at the end of the day on 9/11, he had the burden of knowing that he had to inform 400 families that they had lost, one of the people from their family. And regardless of what people's theories are on 9/11, his comment is that we know that we have 200,000 criminals from other countries on the loose now. And that's from countries that share information with us. There are a whole bunch of countries that do not share that type of information with us. So the real number could be exponentially greater than that, or probably is exponentially greater. So again, regardless what people's opinions are on 9/11, I have my own opinions as well. The comparison he was drawing was to say, we had 19 people in several planes wreak havoc on 9/11. Whether that's state sponsored or not is a topic for another day. And now we've got hundreds of thousands of them on the loose here. And we've been saying this over and over for extended period of time ourselves. And actually, so here's another one quickly, by the way. So here's some Iranian officials are, threatening that they're going to attack us directly. So again, I tend to believe based on what I heard from, yeah. I don't know. We've got a lot of bad guys in the country. We've got a lot of people like this guy, who's threatening us. And then we've got this topic, which we've covered in depth. And that's the drone threat and the potential for these terrorists to use drones. What do you guys think of this latest intelligence from the feds warning us that we're fixing to be attacked?
Well, there's two theories on this. One, okay, Russia's been saying, oh, it was Ukraine and the Americans who did it. They've been telling their own people that. Then they'll say, yes, it was ISIS, but they were put up to it by the Americans and by Ukraine. And that's for their own internal political nonsense.
Okay.
But this could very well be our government saying, well, see, they're after us too. So your theory that we were involved in the Moscow bomb or Moscow attack doesn't hold water, because why would we support them if they're trying to kill us? I think a lot of it is finger pointing in all different directions. But as far as the domestic threat goes, just this morning, reading the news, my wife showed me a video of this, guy talking about, Palestine and all this. And the people in the crowd, some of them were starting to chant "Death to America."
Yes.
And this was in Detroit,
yep.
or outside of Detroit.
It was in Dearborn. It was in Dearborn,
this is
which is essentially
Michigan.
Detroit.
These are American citizens of Middle Eastern descent chanting "Death to America" and saying, it's not Israel, it's America. We've got to change America. So can you see some of those people getting a little going off the deep end and doing something stupid? Wouldn't surprise me.
Well, I think that the prospect of radicalizing people is not unique to any one group or any one country.
Oh,
so,
absolutely.
There's absolutely cause for concern there that they're radicalizing people that are already here, and that we have no intel on. And again, we've covered all these different types of threats. Mike, give me your thoughts on this, and then I know there's not a whole lot that we can make for recommendations, but we do have a handful. What do you? I like Jeff's take, by the way. I hadn't thought of it from that angle, that it was, basically playing against the Russian narrative, like, oh, well, they got it, they're coming for us too. That's a good thought. But yeah. Mike, it's all you.
So the very first thing that I have to throw out there is a quick question for Jeff. Jeff, is the very first rule of human intelligence?
Don't get caught.
Human intelligence, not from you. I'll just say, okay, first rule of human intelligence: vet all sources.
Well, yeah,
and question your sources at all times.
absolutely. You
So,
never take anything at face value, and you always try
nothing.
to get separate confirmation on everything. And
Right.
that's why we'll recruit multiple multiple spies in the same organization, and then run their information against each other. They don't
Right.
know about each other, of course, but
Right.
you do that, and if both of them are telling you the same thing, probably true, especially if they don't know each other. They're from different parts of the organization. But when their information starts to radically um, diverge, then either one of them doesn't have the access he claims he has, or he's blowing smoke up your butt.
Right. And so that's the exact same thing for using press sources, because press is also human intelligence. When you're going to be utilizing that. So I look at a lot of this stuff and I go, okay, none of this stuff passes the smell test. The whole ISIS-K attribution for this attack just did not pass the smell test by any way, shape, fashion, or form. If you look at it came out of both Forward Observer and S2 Underground on it, none of this works in the same vein as how that organization worked. All right. Now, these guys may have thought they were working for ISIS-K, but I'd be willing to bet that they were not working for ISIS-K. Who are they working for? Did Jeff's old buddies happen to send them over there, pay them up and tell them that they were working for them? I don't know. Did the KG used to be do it? I don't know. Did the Baluchis in Pakistan do it? Who knows at this point,
the
right?
Chechens and the Dagestanis.
Right. Was it the
Take a shot at
Chechens?
Putin, but don't want maybe coming back on them. So they say, hey, we're ISIS-K. Here's the money.
They've done that before.
Well, yeah, the school massacre where they basically killed 138 kids.
Yeah, but they outright said that it was them doing that. Yeah. But they've had proxies attack against the Russians before in the past. Sure. So who did it? I don't know. And then when the U.S. press grabs onto it and gloms onto it, and even the Department of Justice and the White House jump onto it, you got to kind of look at it and go, are you guys just looking for something to do, or do you actually have something? And really, a lot of this smells to me like they don't have something. They're just looking to fill pages, as far as I'm concerned.
Yeah, and the thing is, you get you leak stuff to the press on purpose. It gets in the New York Times, and you can say, "Don't look at me, man. It's in the New York Times. Of course, it's true."
Right.
It's in the New York Times because you put it in the New York Times.
Right. Yeah. Exactly. Because you were the leak. Yeah.
Yeah.
So as far as recommendations on these two things, so story number 2 is the U.S. intel. Story number 3, Iran threatening us and Israel. I mean, other than limiting your exposure to large gatherings, refining your EDC stuff so that hopefully you have the right tools for the job when necessary, get some scenario-based training, and you can monitor news all you want, but stuff happens way faster on X than anywhere else.
Oh, yeah.
So,
yeah, absolutely.
Absolutely. What other recommendations can we make? Because that's all that came to mind when I was putting together the notes for today.
Yeah. Now, I would say when you start looking at the Israeli strike on the Iranians in Syria, that's there's going to be retaliation on that one, and this is one of those rare situations that I look at the Israelis and go, oh God, guys, I really wish you wouldn't have done that. I mean, are the guys inside a valid target? I mean, you got several Iranian generals inside this place. Okay, they're all IRGC guys. We all like seeing dead IRGC guys. Anybody that ever served in Iraq or Syria loves seeing dead IRGC guys, right? But in this case, in this case, they were in a consulate annex. They were literally right next door to the embassy. We would have called an elite a no-go hit. It's literally just like smoking the dude as he walked out the gate of the embassy.
Yeah.
Literally. It's out.
They should have done a Suleimani part 2.
Right. Wait till they get in. Wait till they
get out on a highway somewhere.
Yeah, let them get in a car. Let them get a couple hundred yards down the road, for God's sakes.
Yeah.
This case, we would have called that as a no-go target. That would have been, no, don't do that. Right. That not a good target. And as a matter of fact, it's technically a little bit of a violation of the Vienna Accords.
Just a little.
Yeah. Okay. It's a solid violation.
Well, yeah, but I think what I could see the Iranians are going to want revenge. And what I see them do, usually they go through proxies, they go through Houthis and all this, so they have titular deniability. But in this one, I think they want everybody to know it's them. And what I could see them doing, I don't know that they're going to, I'm just pulling this out of my backside. If they were going to do an attack on the Israeli embassy in Washington, D.C., that's a twofer. It's getting back at the Israelis, and it's sticking us in the eye with a sharp stick.
Yeah, you're not wrong.
Yeah. I mean, they've blown up embassies before. They blew up the
yes, they have.
in Argentina and things like that. So
yeah, the Iranians were behind all the hits in Beirut.
Yeah,
back in the 80s. So yeah.
I got $10. Says one of the hall monitors is going to make a comment to the effect that Jeff shouldn't have said that because he's given them ideas. When we know
I think they've already
done
of ideas things. All on their own because this isn't new for them.
Yeah,
they've been doing this for 40 years.
Yeah, if anybody in the audience is not aware, look it up. Been at war with the Iranian mullahs since 1979, and the rest of the world outside of the U.S. intelligence industry, and I'm going to call it an industry, and the Iranians and the Israelis have forgotten.
Yeah.
Yep, fair enough. I'm just telling you, based on our experience at Survival Dispatch, that a Karen or a hall monitor will come out and say that you should have never said that you're giving ideas to the bad guys and they're going to use them against us. And my response, that's always the same. Security through obscurity doesn't work. So,
come on the show, Karen. I dare you.
That'll be in my inbox before the day's over, right?
Bring it on.
The name is Sharon, not Karen. No, sorry.
Right. Okay. So that's 3 out of 5 stories. Let's go to number 4 here, which is this bird flu. So we have some federal officials are saying this is going to be 100 times worse than COVID, that 50% of the people who contract the avian flu are going to die. And ironically enough, though, the FDA is saying that this is a nothing burger and that they don't foresee anybody, dying from this, especially based on the thing. So the FDA, of course, dealing with food, their position, which I agree with, is that I'm just finishing a glass of milk right here, and pasteurized milk gets heated up to the point that it kills all the avian flu. Yeah. Same goes for other food stuff that's cooked as well. But probably what will come out of this avian flu, let me just put my tinfoil hat on for a second. Worst case scenario out of the avian flu is that we end up with another election where they tell people that they can't vote in person. They have to mail in. They cheat their asses off again like they did in 2020. And, best case scenario out of all of this is probably more inflation. They're gonna say it's putting constraints on the food supply chain and continue to crank prices up. And I mean, I could go down a deep rabbit hole there. Every time I hear somebody from this administration say that inflation's under control,
they'll do $1 trillion giveaway.
Yeah. How many times do you have to tell the same lie before, you start believing it yourself? Because it's brutal. But anyway.
On more on the scientific side of this, I was reading about it when it first came out. It went to a cow. Okay, and this is H5N1 avian flu. It's been around forever. If you read the article, some of the cows got sick. None of them died. Okay, if it's not going to kill the cow, it's not going to probably kill you either. This is pops up every few years. I mean, it's in the soup. It's on the rotation. It's the starting pitcher for this year when in the bird flu games. I don't think it's any worse than any other flu. They want it to be because they need another pandemic so they can seize more power and exert more control.
Right.
But I wouldn't worry about it at all.
Yeah, inflation's the one thing that gets me. Actually, I'll pull this up quickly and show you. I did a little bit deeper digging on this as well, just to see how accurate these numbers are compared to the places I normally follow. And I would call these numbers directionally correct. They may not be empirical, but they're directionally correct. And those numbers are astonishing. So, and we've been following this and commenting on it for at least 2 years now. Excuse me. And anybody who says that this is a booming economy and inflation's under control is obviously a low information person that voted for Biden. And, I won't take us down that rabbit hole today. Mike, give us your thoughts on the bird flu before I get sucked into going way down this rabbit hole.
I personally look forward to serving our new overlords and making sure that you bunch of capitalist pigs all see the inside of a cell. Hey, comrades? Hey. No. Yeah, I see. Just like Jeff said, I think this is nothing but that we're just going around and around and around on the same lies so often. Yeah, I'm starting to get the snores off of this. So I've got my own chickens. Anybody wants to buy eggs? $12 a dozen. Because I'm a capitalist.
Yeah, I'm more worried about the official response to the flu than I am the flu.
Concur.
What are they going to do? Are they going to do lockdowns and masks? And then they're going to say everybody's got to get a flu shot or you can't leave your house. And, flu shots are a crapshoot anyway, because every year there's a flu shot and it's based on what they guess is going to be the dominant strain that year. And sometimes they're okay. Most of the time they're not. I don't get a flu shot. I used to. I don't anymore. The more I learned about it, the more I'm like, okay, you're rolling dice.
Yeah. Last time I had a flu shot, I was in high school. I got deathly ill and I swore that I would never do it again. And that was the last time.
Yeah.
So, well, that's because you've got such a tender little constitution.
Oh, right. Yeah. All right. So suffice it to say, our opinion on the bird flu right now is pretty much a non-issue, other than they'll probably use it to jack up prices even higher.
Well, they're already slaughtering chickens. So, yeah.
For the first time ever, I'm going to agree with the FDA and say nothing burger.
Yeah. The prices will go up because they'll be culling chickens and there'll be fewer eggs.
So speaking of nothing burgers, we purposely avoided saying anything with regards to this eclipse other than a passing comment here and there. And it's exactly what we said it was going to be, that it wasn't worth us spending any time on because eclipses don't cause data networks and cell phone networks and all these other things to fail. It's not going to make the power grid go down. I'm still not entirely sure why the mainstream media has been pushing this, fear porn, but here we go. It's come and gone. It might still be in Maine at this time of day, but it's basically gone and nothing happens. So that's all I have to report on this issue. What do you guys think, Mike?
I have a great problem with this. This is a long-term issue that none of you are looking at. 100%. Nobody, and I mean nobody. Everybody wants good crops. Everybody wants the other tribes to leave us alone. But by God, nobody, and I mean nobody, wanted to sacrifice a virgin to Inti, the sun god, so that the great sky serpent would not swallow him today.
Hey, Jeff, it's 3:30 Central Time where Mike is, and clearly he's already started drinking.
It is happened. Look, either crops are going to fail or the Spanish are going to show up now.
Well, my money's
you guys want the Spanish to show up on our shores?
They already are. Just go to the southern border.
No, I don't listen. I don't listen to any of you.
No. The biggest effect here was the air temperature dropped about 5 degrees. So counter global warming. which means my swimming pool will take that much longer to get up to swimmable temperature because I have a solar heater. Other than that, nothing.
Oh, Greta Thunberg got arrested over this.
She did.
Or over something. I don't know. I'm going to attribute it to this. It's probably a lie, but I'm going to stick with it anyway.
Well,
no, it was over climate change. It was at The Hague. Yes, she did get arrested.
On a similarly stupid story, it was a woman who's running for Senate in New Jersey, talking about the earthquake the other day. Said that was proof that global warming is real.
Has nothing to do with the fact that there's a fault line runs right through there.
New Jersey.
But it's a global warming. Man, these people, their brains turn to mush easily.
Come on. It's clear to me that it's part of global warming.
She's the next senator from New Jersey.
Oh man, I'm telling you. Nobody said that you had to be smart to be in Congress.
AOC.
We had a New Jersey cop sitting beside us last Thursday and at Mar-a-Lago. And when we were just talking, introducing each other, he said, well, yeah, I have a place here, but I'm an active duty law enforcement officer from New Jersey, but don't hold that against me.
So. I have a prediction here, Jeff. And I think that you and I are never going to hear the end of, I got to go to dinner at Mar-a-Lago with Trump.
I can do better than that. This hat was a gift from Donald Trump. Everybody who attended got one, plus a bunch of other stuff, challenge coins. And so you're right. No, you're not going to hear the end of it. That's
never going to hear the end of it.
If you're going to hang out with Forrest Gump, you gotta take it. It's all right.
Okay. That's cool.
It can be like, remember that time did I tell you I met Tom Hanks at an airport once? Huh?
Right.
That from everybody about every 2 seconds.
I mean, hey, Trump, Chris, Mar-a-Lago, it's very heavy. It's hard not to drop it. You know,
Chris, you are why I drink.
Starting
at 3 o'clock in the afternoon on a Monday. Yeah, no, you're not. My clients are. But anyway, moving on.
So that's the top 5 this week as we see stories, that affect the survival prepping community. However, I have one more update that I want to share with our audience here because I'm pretty happy about it, to be honest with you. So this snotty-nosed puke who does not belong in our country and had the audacity to go on X and instruct other illegals on how to squat in people's privacy, how to forge leases so that the authorities couldn't throw them out. Then he lost his TikTok account that had 5 million people on it, snot running down his face. He has been arrested and he is getting his ass deported. And this is exactly what needs to happen to every other one of these scumbags that have broken into our country. He was flashing $100 bills, supposedly from money that he'd got from various government programs, our money. Okay. And on this topic, something that's really infuriating is that the illegals who claim they are 65 and older, this was just announced this past weekend, they're getting the maximum Social Security payout, and they've never paid into the program. So there's a reason I get passionate over this. This crap right here. This is 100% on Joe Biden, Obama, and everybody who ever voted for them. And when we get our way and our guy gets back in office and Tom Homan's director of ICE again, every last one of these guys is getting deported out of the country. It's going to be the biggest deportation in history. I don't know if you guys want to jump on that rant or not, but if you want to go, by all means, jump in.
Well, I want to throw out a historical perspective, and we've had a discussion about this previously, Chris. Historical perspective. Anybody that says, "Oh, having mass deportations is we can't do that; it's illegal." Hey, guess what? We've done it before. We did it at the end of the Spanish-American War. We did it at the end of the First World War. We did it at the end of the Second World War, and we did it at the end of the Korean War. So read your history, look at mass deportations. They've happened a lot over the last 100-some years. Get over yourself.
Well, and if we need a reason why we should do that, if you go to Rantingly, the top story right now is Mexico runs short of farmhands. Well, let's send them, all the ones that came here, we'll send them right back where they came from.
Have we got a solution for you?
Yeah, absolutely.
So Mike, as you referenced there, that was Eisenhower in the 50s that deported 1.3 million people. Clearly, there was no such thing as being politically correct back then because it was called Operation Wetback. There's all kinds of information on the internet. I have another one open here from Wikipedia.
We're not the ones that did this. We didn't say this. That was the U.S. government that said that. Don't cancel us.
This was Eisenhower's administration in the 1950s.
70 years ago.
So suffice it to say, we know that somewhere between 10 and 20 million unvetted illegals have entered the country under Joe Biden / Obama's watch. Okay. We also know that the current number of people who are not here legally is over 50 million. And we went through all those stats last week when I was with the guys from Border 911, and they're irrefutable numbers. And this is, you can't have a country with no borders. So this is going off in the weeds on the weekly top 5, but this shit is going to have consequences for our country for decades to come, regardless of how many million we deport. And it's probably going to have effects this year as far as some sort of terrorist attacks or multiple terrorist attacks.
Well, I think the statistic that came out last week that just is shocking to me, and I think should be shocking to everybody. We have had more illegal aliens, and that's the official count, not the unofficial count. More illegal aliens enter this country during Joe Biden's tenure as president than all the legal immigrants that came to this country from 1892 through 1954.
It's absolutely mind-blowing.
62 years of legal immigration was topped by Joe Biden in 3 years with illegal immigration.
Yeah, it's a disaster. It's an absolute disaster. So,
and while we're not perfect, by God, that's just wrong.
Very wrong.
At the end of the day, when you look back through history, there's no such thing as a country or a region that has held it together with more than one culture. When you mix different cultures, you get confrontation, fragmentation, and all the things that we're seeing already happening in Europe that we know are coming here next. And, this election this year is by far the most important election in our lifetime. And if we don't get back on track, I don't know that we can save the country, to be honest with you.
Well, you look at, go back into history again. The last big multicultural country was the Austro-Hungarian Empire. I think they had like 13 different languages that they spoke. Have you heard from the Austro-Hungarians lately?
Right.
No.
Yeah.
I think they kind of broke up somewhere around, I don't know, 1918.
Yeah.
So I'm as you guys know, I'm very fond of DEI. I love the acronym being didn't earn it. I think that's very apropos. But I heard a new one now that's relevant to our conversation today. Deport every illegal.
Yes, that works for me.
I'm 100% behind DEI now. I've changed my opinion on the subject completely. Yep. Deport every illegal.
That works. We should get t-shirts made up.
Yep.
There we go. All right, guys. That's it for the top 5 for this week. Mike, you get to close with the conflicted question.
Dun, dun, dun! Conflicted question of the day. Okay, for anybody that missed it at the beginning, we're looking at the Jack of Hearts. One of your friends tells you that he can't live in this world anymore. I'm going to presume this is a post oops kind of world. One of your friends tells you that he can't live in this world anymore, and he has confessed to you that he wants to commit suicide. Talks with his wife and kids who are still alive and depend on him seem to do nothing to change his mind. The children are too young and his wife too depressed to be of any help with this situation. As the leader of your group, what would you do with this member and his family? Ready? Go.
Well, I wouldn't do anything with his family. That's
Sorry.
not their fault that he's suicidal.
Yeah.
Now, if you're a young single guy, you may go, what does the wife look like? Is she good looking? No. See, I'm one of those that thing about suicide is if someone wants to kill themselves, they really want to kill themselves, they're going to kill themselves. You know, these people who say, let's do gun control to save lives, it's not going to save any lives. When it comes to suicide, I would try to talk to the person to try and convince them that if nothing else, their children need a father. You know, he may be depressed, but they may not be, but he's inflicting his choice upon them, and make it temporary things. Look, stick around till the kids are old enough to go on their own. Then if you want to kill yourself. And then by that time, hopefully he will have you kind of gotten over it, outgrown it, you know, discovered that life is worth living. But I think if you just try and tell him, you know, suicide's a sin, well, I don't think that's going to fly, because people who are considering killing themselves already know that.
Right.
And it doesn't seem to bother.
Yeah. We don't have full context here as far as how large the group is and those sort of things, but we've discussed the concept before of somebody, you know, being out of line, and how do you deal with them, and, you know, what's the right thing to do. And in this particular instance, I think you have to put this guy under some sort of supervised watch. You have to try and find him some help. And it shouldn't fall back on the family as far as any repercussions for them is concerned. But that would all depend on the state of the world. Like if we're in a Teotihuacan situation, you know, the end of the world as we know it, is there any help available? You know, what has brought this on? Is there anybody who can help him in our group? Do we have anybody who's a psychologist or psychiatrist who could potentially guide him the right way? Do we have a pastor who could guide him in the right way? Do we have any professional resources, any types of counselors, those sort of things? But I think you try and help the guy work through it, and you don't penalize the family. That's all I got.
Okay, I'm batting cleanup as usual. So I agree with Jeff. One of the biggest things is to is to come up with short-term goals on this sort of thing. And in my group here, I got a preacher that lives right down the street. Matter of fact, I got a couple of here, and they are an outstanding resource for this sort of thing. And I'm gonna push part of this over onto them and hope it's not one of them that's in this state. Of course, absolutely, you know, no repercussions at all on their family's going to be taken care of. All right, there are people. Period. It's not like we're going to cast them out into the cold or anything like that. That would just be counterproductive as could be. But yeah, the biggest thing is, you know, let's try to get to the root of this whole thing. One thing that I've seen is that a lot of people that are looking to kill themselves don't normally talk about it first. So yeah, this is that. I hate to say, you know, I hate to throw out that kitsch of this is, you know, this is that call for help. Okay, well, we're going to help you, and we're going to break this down. We're going to, hey, let's just, how about we make it through the night? I can't have you kill yourself because I need you on guard. The whole group needs you on guard in 8 hours, man. So, you know, we all gotta get it together and do this. Don't go, you know, we're all working together here. You know, let's try and get you a little bit of sleep. Let's watch them, things like that. You know, sleep, you know, actually getting some decent sleep, maybe throw a little THC into there to help them relax and stuff. Sometimes all it takes is a good solid night's sleep to get your mind right.
Yeah.
Fair enough. All right. That is all we've got for the weekly top 5 this week. We'll be back live again next Monday. We went back to our old software. Didn't have any glitches, so I'm glad we got that out of the way. 2 more episodes of Survival Dispatch News this week, Wednesday and Friday, but they will be pre-recorded. We're just doing the lives once a week on Mondays from now on. Appreciate your time, guys.
Hey, I've got a little bit here. Snow snake survival threw a good one into here, right? He said help the guy work through it and make sure his diet is good. Does he need some vitamins? Man, and I'll tell you what, that may be very true. And of course, you know, if you're in a compromised situation, everybody may be short on their vitamins. The guy outside, get him some sunlight. All right. Let him sit out and get a bit of a tan. Let him do some, you know, some small stuff in the garden and try to you know, try to get a little bit of vitamin D and some serotonin going into his system. He'll maybe feel a little bit better.
Another aspect would be is if the guy has a unique skill set of some sort, you could say, we need that skill set. And if you're bound and determined to offer yourself, do us a solid, convey as much of that knowledge as you can to somebody else. And if he has a goal of maybe training somebody, teaching somebody, taking on the role of a teacher as opposed to just a cog in the machine, might turn him around.
Yeah, he might find a good reason to live.
Yeah.
There you go. Fair enough.
Hey, thanks everybody in the audience. You guys are awesome as always.
All right.
And patient for putting up with us.
Yeah.